This is reading 2 of Romulus and Remus from Livy in stage 48. Tum, at that time, erant, there were vastae solitudines, vast wildernesses, in his locis, in these places, talking about the site that would be Rome, this place along the bank of the Tiber River. Just as a reminder, in Livy's time, he is a contemporary of the Emperor Augustus. Rome was a grand city at that point. It was sprawling, hundreds of thousands, approaching 1 million people in the city. And just a reminder that at the time of Romulus and Remus, this was just woods and wilderness, shepherds. So at that time, there were vast wildernesses in these places. Tenet fama. The story holds that. The story goes that. And so all of the next chunk will be indirect statement coming off of the story goes that. So we'll have a lot of accusative and infinitive. But first we have the cum clause. So the story goes that when the tenuis aqua, the shallow water, destituisset, had deposited the fluitantem aueum, the floating basket, quo pueri expositi erant, in which the boys had been exposed, in sico, in dry land. So the subject, the tenuis aqua, direct object, the fluitantem aueum, and then pluperfect passive here, so in which the boys had been deposited. So the story goes that when the shallow water had deposited the floating basket in which the boys had been exposed on dry land, a wolf, a she-wolf, lupam, sitientem, being thirsty, with the nt there, making the pap. So a thirsty wolf, ex montibus, from the mountains, qui circa sunt, which are around there, flexisse coursum, bent her course, so a perfect infinitive there, bent her course ad puerilem vagatum, to the boys crying, to the boyish crying. And still accusative plus infinitive, right? The story goes that she offered her lowered teats, her submissas mamas, the perfect passive participle, PPP, going down with the mamas. So she offered her lowered teats to the infants, adeo mittim, so gently that the magister regi pecoris, the master of the royal flock, found her, understood, the she-wolf, lambentum, licking the boys with her tongue, as opposed to what a wolf would be more likely to do, which is just feast on delicious baby meat. So this is a result clause, so much, adeo, that, and then so that means this has got to be subjunctive, so that eri makes that the perfect subjunctive in a result clause. And that's the famous Capitoline wolf statue that you can see in the Capitoline Museum in Rome to this day. Faustula fuisse nomen ferunt, they say that the name to him was Faustulus, or they say that Faustulus was his name, the shepherd that found them. By him, by Faustulus, the boys were given to his wife Laurentia to be brought up, the gerundive there, so the boys were given to be brought up ad stabula, at their huts or at their stables. Sunt qui, there are those who, putent, who think, and so, it's puto putara, first conjugation, so that e makes it a present subjunctive, and so this is called a relative clause of characteristic. So it's not that there are specific people who think this, but just, there are people out there who are the sort of folks that think. So Latin brings that out by just kicking that into the subjunctive. So those who think that Laurentia was called a she-wolf, right? And this is actually an indirect statement, so that will katam, you understand an essay with it. So there are those who think that Laurentia was called lupam, was called a she-wolf, among the shepherds, vulgato corpore, by acting as a prostitute, right? Literally with her body made public. So lupa, even in Italy today, can be a slang word for a prostitute, and this idea that they were saved by an actual she-wolf just glosses over the fact that the woman who raised them with Faustulus was actually a prostitute. So there are those who think that Laurentia was called a she-wolf among the shepherds by acting as a prostitute. Inde, from there, the source was given to the story and the miracle, right? And the story and the miracle is two nouns, really saying the source for the miraculous story. And there's a name for that kind of rhetorical device using two nouns when you really mean just one phrase, and that's called hendiades. So one through two, one idea through two nouns. So the source was given for the story and the miracle, meaning for the miraculous story. All right.